You opened the app without thinking. You scrolled without deciding to, and somewhere in those first 30 seconds, without meaning to, you did the thing you always do. You compared yourself to someone else. Maybe it was subtle. A flicker of something that felt like envy, dressed up as admiration. Maybe it was louder, a sinking awareness that someone your age is further along, thinner, richer, more loved. Whatever it was, it passed through you like a reflex, because that is exactly what it is, a reflex. And the real answer for why you cannot stop doing it is far stranger than you think. Your brain is not broken, it is ancient, and it was built for a world that no longer exists. Go back approximately 150,000 years to a moment when a version of you is sitting at the edge of a fire with maybe 30 other people. That is your entire world. Not metaphorically, literally. 30 people is your universe. You know every face, every name, every status. And status matters more than almost anything else, because in a group that small, your rank inside it determines whether you eat, whether you are protected, whether you find a mate, whether you survive. Psychologist Robin Dunbar found that the human brain is structurally calibrated to track around 150 social relationships at maximum. This number appears across human history in tribes, military units, and village records. It is called Dunbar's number. Your brain was built with a hard ceiling because that was all it ever needed. Inside that ceiling, comparison was not a flaw. It was the system. You scanned others constantly. Who is stronger? Who is more respected? Who has fallen out of favor? Where do I stand? That scan was survival intelligence. Every morning your ancestors woke up and ran an unconscious social audit, and the results of that audit shaped every decision they made that day. Now you wake up and open your phone, and the audit begins. Except now it does not scan 30 people. It scans thousands, hundreds of thousands, an infinite feed of curated highlight reels, each one optimized to make the best moment look like an ordinary Tuesday. Your brain is running ancient software on a modern problem it was never designed to handle, and it is overwhelmed. Psychologist Leon Festinger first named this in 1954 in what he called social comparison theory. His core insight was simple. Humans have a deep, almost biological drive to evaluate their opinions and abilities, and when objective measures are not available, they measure themselves against other people. Festinger found that we most often compare ourselves to people we perceive as similar to us, not to celebrities, not to strangers in other countries, to people in our lane, your neighbor, your college friend, your coworker, the person 3 steps ahead of you on the same road. That is the specific cruelty of it. You do not compare yourself to a medieval peasant and feel rich. You compare yourself to someone at the same starting line as you who seems to be running faster. And here is where it gets more complicated, because not all comparison is the same. Researchers distinguish between 2 types. Upward comparison, where you measure yourself against someone doing better, and downward comparison, where you measure yourself against someone doing worse. Upward comparison tends to leave you feeling inadequate. Downward comparison tends to leave you feeling temporarily superior, though that feeling does not last long and rarely makes you happy. What you are chasing in both directions is a sense of where you stand, a map of yourself inside a social landscape. The problem is that the landscape has become unmappable. Think about what your ancestors' social world looked like. Stable, slow-moving. If someone in the group got better at hunting, you knew about it in real time. You watched it happen. You updated your map. The feedback loop was tight, human, and honest. There was no filter on the moment you watched someone struggle, no way to crop out the hard parts of their life. You saw everything, which meant your comparison was, at least, based on reality. Now the comparison is based on theater. You are not comparing yourself to real people. You are comparing yourself to the best version of real people, staged, edited, rephotographed, and selected from hundreds of rejected attempts. And your brain does not know the difference. It receives the signal and processes it as data, as truth, and the result is a quiet, persistent sense that everyone else is doing better than you. Psychologist Sherry Turkle spent decades studying how digital connection reshapes the self, and what she found again and again is that people feel more alone when they are most connected, because connection, in this context, is a performance, and you are always the audience. Here's something your brain also cannot do. Stop automatically. There is no off switch for comparison. Research from Zick Rubin and others on automatic social cognition has shown that social evaluation happens pre-consciously. Before you decide to think about someone, your brain has already begun classifying them, threat or ally, higher or lower, like me or unlike me. This happens in milliseconds. It is not something you choose. It is something you are. The question is what you do with the information once it surfaces. Because comparison is not inherently destructive. Strip it back to its raw function and it is information. It tells you where you are. It can motivate, it can direct attention towards something you want to build. The ancient version of you who noticed a tribesman had mastered a new skill sometimes used that observation as a signal to learn. Comparison has always had an instructional mode, not just a punishing one. The difference between comparison that helps and comparison that hollows you out comes down to one thing: what story you attach to the gap. When you see someone ahead of you and the story you tell is "I could close that gap," the data is useful. When the story you tell is "I never could," the data becomes a verdict. Your brain is not generating those stories randomly, it is drawing on a lifetime of feedback, early experiences of success and failure, messages you absorbed about what you are worth. The comparison is the trigger. The story is where the damage happens. And yet you keep comparing, because you cannot stop what is ancient. What you can do is understand what the reflex is actually for. When you feel that familiar drop in the stomach looking at someone else's life, your brain is not telling you that you have failed. It is running a 150,000-year-old program designed to help you locate yourself inside a group. It is doing its job. The problem is the group has gone from 30 people sitting around a fire to an infinite audience that never sleeps and never shows you anything that is real. You were not built for this. Nobody was. The ancient you could look around the fire and take an honest count. 30 people, real lives, visible struggles. The modern you stares into a mirror made of millions of other mirrors, and every reflection shows the same thing. Someone else, slightly more polished, slightly more arrived, and still you scroll, and still the audit runs. Not because you are weak, not because something is wrong with you, but because the comparison reflex is one of the oldest things you carry. Older than language, older than cities, older than the concept of failure itself. Tonight, when you open the app without thinking and feel that familiar pull, you are not doing something shallow. You are doing something ancient. The system is just running in the wrong world. The fire is still burning. The 30 faces are still there. But somewhere along the way, the circle got infinite, and your brain forgot how to stop counting.